Coming up on today's San Francisco 49ers Report, going to take a look at the latest Niners injury news going into Sunday's game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. With that, we'll also take a look at the Steelers injury report and how did the Nick Bosa contract get done. Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show and had some fascinating insight as to how the contract got done because early on Wednesday, Nick Bosa and his camp, as well as the Niners organization, according to Schefter, were not even close. So how did they put pen to paper, and how did Nick Bosa become the highest paid defensive player in the history of the game that afternoon? Stay tuned to find out. First, though, make sure you join us for our Week 1 watch party. Niners on the road to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Our live coverage begins at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. for those of you on the West Coast. And how about this? We have the best Super Chat giveaway that we've ever had here on the show. An actual Niners helmet will go to our Super Chat MVP, the person who sends in the largest single Super Chat. And, of course, your donations go a long way in supporting the program. So with that, let's take a look at the latest Niners injury report here. Center guard Jon Feliciano did miss practice on Wednesday just because of an illness. Trent Williams, non-injury related, did not practice on Wednesday, a rest day for the veteran. Linebacker Oren Burks still dealing with that knee injury, but he was limited. Tashaun Gipson, he has sworn that he was going to practice this week and play on Sunday. Back injury for him. He always was saying throughout this week, nicks and bruises, but San Francisco making it clear it's a back injury for him. He was a limited participant. Talanoa Hufanga with the knee, also a limited participant. And then we round out with this. Some great news on George Kittle here. Missed practice earlier this week. He's been dealing with that groin injury over the last couple of weeks. He was doing sprints, a limited participant, running routes, catching footballs. It looks as though he's going to be good to go for Sunday's season opener. Jordan Mason still ailing with that foot. And also some more good news. Ray-Ray McCloud expects to play. He got hurt in the lead up to the Raiders joint practices several weeks ago. He had to undergo wrist surgery, and it was expected at the time for him to be out 8 weeks, but he's expected to be this team's return man on Sunday against Pittsburgh. Jake Moody, gonna most likely be like a game time decision or at least a Saturday decision with that right quad injury. If he can't kick, Matthew Wright will. George Odum, shoulder, full participant, and then Brock Purdy with that right elbow, a full participant as well. Let's spend a couple of moments talking about George Kittle because it seems as though once a year he's always dealing with one of these soft tissue injuries. And once again, he's been dealing with that adductor injury right in that groin area. He also suffered that injury in the lead up to those Raiders joint practices. This is a big development late in the week for San Francisco that he returned to practice because at the end of last year, he was playing great football with Brock Purdy, and he was Purdy's go-to guy. Last 4 games of the regular season, George Kittle had 7 touchdowns. Last year in total, he had 11 touchdowns. En route to a really, really solid season for Kittle, 60 catches, 765 yards, but those 11 touchdowns, he really came on the final month of the season, and I thought he really added another element to that Niners offense. He's so good at blocking that sometimes he's used too much as a blocker. But Kyle Shanahan sprinkled him in as more of a pass catcher, and him and Purdy were really on the right page, both with the short intermediate routes, but also with the long ball, taking the top off of the defense. As for the Steelers injury report, defensive tackle Cam Heyward, this a late development on Thursday, limited participant, and his status is unknown for Sunday's game because of a stomach injury. I'm not sure how you have a stomach injury, but that's the latest on Cam Heyward, a very good defensive tackle. If he's out, you can run the football right up the middle. Kyle Shanahan obviously likes to do that, one of the fortes of this outside zone scheme. Larry Ogunjobi, foot injury, expected to play. Steelers outside of that, relatively healthy. If you want a full-blown preview of this game, we already did that earlier this week, and this is why you subscribe to the show for the best Niners content here on YouTube. Niners, Steelers, betting odds, matchups to watch, keys to the game, my score prediction. Go back and watch it. We appreciate your support. So we already covered the latest Niners injury news. Coming up next on the show, how did this Nick Bosa contract extension come to fruition to the point where he was on the practice field on Thursday? We'll get to that here in just a second. First, though, week 1 betting odds. The line kind of hovering between 2.5 points and 2 points, depending on what sportsbook you look at. For us, it's our sportsbook partner, BetUS, the only sportsbook that we use, and the over-under, 41. I like the over because if I go under, I kind of feel soft. BetUS, that's our sportsbook partner, and they have the best deal that any sportsbook has to offer. Chatsports.com/49bet. Promo code Niners125 for a 125% deposit bonus. You put $100 into your account, you get $125 back, $225 to game with. Get signed up today. So we round out the show with this. How did the deal get done? Nick Bosa becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of football, $34 million per year. Adam Schefter went on the Pat McAfee show and had a lot to say. So let's dissect it here. Schefter, well, here's what happened. Essentially in the morning on Wednesday, both sides thought that they were a ways away, far apart from getting a deal done. The exact language that was used to me was huge gaps between the two sides. And so Kyle Shanahan was getting ready to meet the media on Wednesday, and they had their vice president of media relations, Corey Rush, in there debriefing him. Sounds like a presidential speech or something. Saying some things that he should be answering about the Nick Bosa situation. Nothing different to tell you guys. Very sorry. Wish we had him. Now, Kyle Shanahan actually addressed that during his Wednesday news conference after Bosa signed. He said, I was getting ready to come out here, talk to you guys, and then I just got word that Bosa signed that deal. And then he was asked as a follow-up, what happened? Like, what was the reaction? He said, a lot of bro hugs. And during that press conference, you could tell Kyle Shanahan was elated. And I imagine that John Lynch, Adam Peters, they were relieved as well to finally get this done because that could mean that Nick Bosa was going to be on the field for Sunday's game against Pittsburgh. And San Francisco, clearly not the same team with Super Bowl aspirations without Nick Bosa as compared to him being on the field. It's one of the happiest that I've ever seen Kyle Shanahan being. So he talked about that. More from Schefter. There it is. Nick Bosa, new deal, gets the deal done. And so the Niners find out. And I think what happened here is ultimately the two sides can negotiate all they want. They could feel they're far apart all they want. But I think in the end, Nick Bosa has to say, I want to be here for my team. It's important for me to be there with my guys. We've taken this far enough. Let's go and get this done. And I think he gives a directive in the end. Hey, I'm taking this deal. It's a record deal. I'm the richest defensive player in NFL history, richest non-quarterback deal in NFL history. Adam Schefter also adding, where it got to the point where Bosa said, I'll take it from here. That's exactly what Nick Bosa said. That coming from Adam Schefter, who seems to have some really good insight into these negotiations, how these conversations went, and what transpired. And at the end of the day, it's a great deal for Bosa, right? He gets $34 million per year. In the NFC West, he now has bragging rights that he's making more money as compared to Aaron Donald. And $34 million, you're not going to walk away from that. Bosa's camp has to be really jacked up about getting that much money. It's just crazy to me that it took so long. And that's why I was critical of San Francisco. And I think partially the Niners felt the heat of trying to get this deal done. You say time and time again, we have Bosa budgeted for. When he won Defensive Player of the Year and he had 18.5 sacks, you had to have known that beating out Aaron Donald was the starting point. So the fact that San Francisco seemed a little bit shocked that Bosa was asking for more than Donald, I didn't get it. But at the end of the day, they get the deal done. 97, going to be rocking the scarlet, red, and gold for a really, really long time. How many snaps will Bosa play on Sunday? TJ Watt had a hold-in 2021, and he signed his deal 48 hours before the game. He played 69 of 85 snaps and had 2 sacks in that matchup. Gives you some insight. If I'm San Francisco, I need Bosa for the duration of the season. I'm targeting, depends on the game flow, But let's say there are 85 snaps in the game. I'm giving him about 40 snaps, and I'm prioritizing having him on the field for a lot of obvious third down pass rush situations so that he can make an impact on the game. Let me know how many snaps you think Bosa will play on Sunday.